Hey y'all. So we introduced Hercule, the little sling or baby tarantula, curly hair that my son got me for Father's Day. And we're upgrading him now. He's going to go from this. He came in as a little tube for shipment, but we've been keeping him in this, and he just has some substrate in there and a piece of cork bark. Now we're going to put him in this little critter keeper, which with my compostable soup bowl that's in there that I made a little cat hide for him and just some other little miscellaneous stuff we had. But so we're going to take him out of here and put him in this new enclosure and give him some room to move. They don't need huge areas to live in. I mean, it's a tarantula, so in the wild he's going to find a little hide in the ground or in the base of a tree or somewhere where you can hole up and be safe, and then come out at night and hunt. So we'll take out this piece of cork bark first. That's just decorative. He can do whatever he wants with that. There's a slightly different, this is a coconut coir and I think some smegma moss substrate. There's coconut coir in here now too as well. So we're gonna kind of dig him out. He may or may not like that too much, but because he's kind of made this the way he wants it, but he's just getting too big.
It's way too big.
Yeah, he's molted twice since we showed him to you guys last, so he's becoming a big boy now. So I actually take some of this and put it on top of this little structure here, and he can pull it down if he wants to. This has moss in it as well, just like straight regular moss. And we'll pull some of this out of here, and what he'll do is he'll go in here and he'll make this the way he wants to. I'm just trying to be really careful and not grab him and squish him. So you see how he had that stuff really packed in there.
Yeah.
There he is right there. He's fixing on coming out now, but this whole side over here is solid, where he's just made his little den, and he can either use the little hide that I put in there for him, or he'll make his own. This doesn't has to be too expensive. They don't require a lot, so it's just this little tarantula. I mean, he'll get quite a bit bigger than this, but he's gotten really big already compared to when Hunter got him for me. He was like the size of my fingernail.
He was 1/3 of an inch.
Yeah, he was tiny. Now he's over an inch easily. We'll see if we can get him out here, and he's not too happy. There he comes. Come on, buddy. There he is right there. I don't know if you guys can see him on top.
Holy crap.
He's gotten so much bigger. There he is right there.
Gosh. Holy cow.
He's so much bigger.
Yeah, he was like the size of this part up here is called his carapace, or his thorax, cephalothorax, and that's his thorax. And that's about the size he was when we got him with his leg span. So he's growing really well. Do you want to take some more of this stuff, dude, and knock it in there and then spread it around a little bit? So just let him sit there for a second and adjust. He's a curly haired tarantula, so these little hairs you can see all over him will get even curlier than that, and they'll get longer, obviously, as he gets bigger. And he looks like right now like he's not ready to shed quite yet again, but he's been eating really well. Hunter's good at giving him little dubia roaches and mealworms that we breed for he and the chickens. It's great to freeze dry your own bugs. It's a lot cheaper and give them to the chickens. And so he can get down in there and do what he wants. We'll just make sure we keep this moist for him. I'd say semi-tropical. They don't have to be extremely moist. You don't want water standing in here, but he also needs to have that moisture. He can actually drink right off the substrate here and get some moisture if he needs it. But they mostly get their water from their food, so he's so chill.
When he gets bigger, though, we're gonna get some kind of water container for him.
Yeah, you can just use a lid from a juice container or anything. I mean, you can spend as much money as you want on this kind of thing, but you don't have to get too fancy here. But there he is, his little pedipalps in the back where he uses to make his webs, and that's about it. But yeah, he's gotten so much bigger. I mean, so when we got him, you can see kind of hard to see the cephalothorax there now, but he was about the diameter completely of this fingernail.
He was probably smaller than his abdomen right now.
Yeah, and he's obviously bigger, but he'll grow. I mean, he'll be able to, with his leg span, about the size of my palm probably. So, but they're not a huge tarantula, and they're not really super fast growing. Although he's growing fast because he doesn't miss any meals. But he's really pretty, I think. It's obviously the beauty's in the eye of the beholder with invertebrates and spiders and tarantulas and centipedes and things like that.
You do want to give him a good amount of water, though, because they live usually around the Amazon rainforest and around, like, Brazil, where it's usually pretty wet. So it's not something you just like give him a few squirts. I usually spray it like 4 or 5 times or more.
He may stay up on top of his hide here for quite a while before he decides what he wants to do. We keep him up on a shelf where it's a little bit darker, so when the lights are on in the room, he doesn't have to be bothered by it too much. But there's a hole down the bottom of the hide that I cut in it, and I put some of the substrate in there so he can, oh, go ahead and land on him, fly. So that he can make his den in there if he wants to, or he can just do it out in the regular part. That'd be hilarious if that fly landed there and he grabbed him. But
Oh, he's right there by the. Wow, he's right by there by it. You see that fly?
it's
guys?
pretty tiny, but he might not be hungry. Didn't you feed him like 2 days ago?
Yeah, it's 2 or 3, maybe 4.
He can eat once a week. He could eat more than that probably, but they usually don't eat if they don't want to, so they're not like us. It's
Can
funny.
you show your hand right by it and so we can see?
So I see he's moving a little bit. His hairs are starting to get a little bit more curl to him. He's used to us handling him, so he's not aggressive. People always ask if they can bite. They can bite. He has 2 fangs that are underneath his chelicera on the front there that he uses to grab his food along with his legs. If he was to bite me at this size, I might feel it. My hands are pretty thick skinned, but if he got me somewhere on the back or something, I might feel it, but it wouldn't feel like much. So, and they are mildly venomous, but it's not something that's gonna. I mean, I guess what they generally tell people is you could. I've never heard of anybody dying from a tarantula bite, from a true tarantula. But you don't know. If you're allergic, you could have a bad reaction and it could cause cardiac arrest and breathing problems and things. But the only time I've ever been bitten was by a cobalt blue, and it stung. I felt it, and my hand went numb, and I had some localized pain up my arm. Yeah, he's already
Crazy.
I don't know if you guys can see it, but he's already using his webs to make sure that he's safe going down the side of the structure, and maybe he'll go right down into the hole. We'll see. He's
So-
using his legs as he moves along. There he goes. He's going inside the hide, so he wants to get out of this light and feel safe.
I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but they always spread like 10 or more strands of webs at a time because their webs, each strand isn't very thick, and usually it takes them a while, sometimes a couple hours, to web up their enclosure.
You getting that on camera?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. All the webs that he's made so far.
And these guys, I don't think they're not like some species will make like a complete web in here, and then they use that for keeping moisture, and then they can use it obviously to feel when there's something on there touching it. But some species will do that, and you have to every once in a while clean it out, otherwise you can't even see the spider or the substrate or anything else. But these guys, I don't think do that as much. Last time I had an adult curly hair, he webbed, but he didn't create tons of webbing.
So, tarantulas, all species, have these little pads on their feet. And that, along with their hairs, give them ultra sensitive feel. So the slightest movement from like all the way over to the end of this cage, he could detect, and he would go over if he was hungry and make an attempt to grab whatever was moving around, no matter what size. But yeah, they have, especially if it's on like any side of his web, that their webs are super sensitive too, so that energy just travels all the way down to wherever he is, and he can feel it immediately. But there's a black widow that lives outside of our house, and I got 2 moths to land on it a couple of days ago, and it was all the way on the inside of the hole, and the moth was all the way on the outside of the web, but as soon as the moth moved, she bolted out and just grabbed it immediately, paralyzed it, and started webbing it up, which is different from how tarantulas eat. They don't wrap their food up, they just
Grab it.
Yeah, they bite it immediately, pull it back into their burrow, and immediately start digesting it and eating it. But true spiders, like normal spiders, they'll usually wrap it up first and then paralyze it. But with all spiders, their venom goes through and it liquefies the insides of the bug.
Becomes like a burrito, like food storage.
Yeah, and then they like mix it around with their fangs, kind of, and then they just make a little opening and they suck it in through their mouth.
Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with us and showing you this new structure. Okay, bye.